Welcome to Tea with Tanya podcast. Every week, I'll be brewing up a perfect blend of public health stories, which will include maternal and reproductive health, career and academic advice, self-love, health, and wellness tips. Join me, your host, Tanya. I'm a public health professional working in maternal health. I'm a birth and postpartum doula, a placenta encapsulation specialist, and certified lactation counselor by day. And I'm your average tea-loving millennial and content creator by night. So pour yourself up a cup of tea and join me in the tea tasting room for your weekly dose of inspiration where you are the center of our conversation. This podcast is here to serve you. So come take a sip with me and let's start promoting positive living together. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Tea with Tanya podcast. And on today's episode, if you guys realize, I've been sharing or talking to different people as we share our period stories just to get the conversation started, to get the conversation going, because in today's society, they're talking about menstruation or anything along those lines is still a bit taboo. There's still a stigma attached to that. So it's important that we have these conversations with women from all over who are okay with sharing their personal story. And of course, some funny stories, because you guys already know about my period trauma. I mean, wearing a million and one underwear just to make sure I don't have any embarrassing moments. So, we're going to laugh, we may cringe a little bit, or we may get deep, but that's okay. One of our guests, this is her second time on this podcast. A while ago, she came on and shared a story with us. And since then, things have changed as it relates to periods and different diagnoses and all these different things. So I'm excited to hear her story and for her to share her story with you guys. And of course, you know how we do here. I'm not going to introduce her. She's going to let us know. She's going to give us the tea all about herself and let us know what's going on. So welcome to Tea with Tanya and Nailah. How are you doing?
Hi everyone. Thank you for having me and always supporting me and what I do and just having this platform for women. This is a topic that we don't talk enough about, and
we don't.
It's amazing to be here and being able to share my story, so I appreciate it. I am Nailah, a BJ on Instagram, Facebook. What else do I say?
What do you do?
I am a budding project manager at this point. I think the last time we spoke, it might have been a little different. So that's what I'm into right now. I also work with a lot of events locally, whether fetes, whether weddings, picnics, that kind of thing. I work with a couple of companies on planning events. So that's just a little bit of what my day-to-day, just adulting. Can I put them on the resume? I'm adulting.
No, listen, adulting. That is so rare. Let me tell you, that needs to be the first thing. It needs to be the first thing that goes on our resume when it comes to our experience, work experience, adulting. Because let me tell you, I can fit in anywhere, I can do anything because adulting has been kicking me left, right, and center. So of course, he's gotta hire me because at this point, if I'm mastering this thing, let's call adulting, then I mean, come on.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a good one. All right, so we're gonna get into the episode. On the last episode, when I spoke to Dr. Micheline, I remember telling her that I was 11 years old when I got my cycle, and I remember my mom being away, and I was the one that I just had an idea about what it was because I had an older sibling and an older cousin who were experiencing, of course, period. I didn't know what was going to come with it as far as all the other challenges, but I just knew that it was going to come. And then when it happened, I just remember going to my cousin. She took me to the village shop. We went and bought the pads, and she basically told me how to put on the pad. But I didn't get that education essentially from, like my mom or my grandmother or any aunts or anything. So when did you first start seeing your period, and what was that experience like for you?
I always remember it's like this special moment because I don't know if your experience in primary school around your friend. I don't know if you would have had.
Well, I think mine. Well, I was 11, right? So I think mine. I had just got to first form, which was, for those of you listening, if you're in the U.S. system, that's grade 7. So that's like the first grade in high school.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I probably would have been in second form, probably eighth grade, because we were upstairs in 2J. Yeah, so I was in second
Yeah.
form at 11 years old. That's crazy, but anyway. So that's when I got mine. And my other friends, they were already seeing their periods before me. I was basically the last person in the bunch.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I was just about 11, going on for 12, going into first form. It was actually like my last day in primary school, elementary school
Mm-hmm.
for like the US system, sixth grade, grade six. It was the last day. You just see, and I just remember being at home and I felt like a cramp, but I thought it was gas or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like weird. I was just getting ready. It was just me and my dad because my school started late, so my mom had already gone to work. And I remember telling my dad about it. I didn't know what was happening. I just felt this pain, and
Right.
I guess my mom was just like, "Okay, maybe this." Like grab either a panty liner or a pad. I can't remember what it was, and put that on. I was just like, okay. And I was just at school, like, yo, I've arrived in the club because there were a couple of my friends who already got it. But I remember seeing them always like in a lot of pain. Like sometimes their head would be down at the desk and they're like bawling. And I was like,
Oh.
but it's also around that time a lot of us would have gotten either books. Like we never spoke about it, but your mom or your aunt or somebody just kind of gave you a book like, yeah, read that. And
Right,
you kind
right.
of figure it out. And you also had like these teen books about girls like wanting to get their period or wanting to get breast or like this excitement about this evolution of adolescence. So it was kind of like, yeah, this is cool. I got my period now. So I'm on this level, not knowing the the world of crap that was gonna come with it. It was just an exciting time. A last day. I remember the date. It was the 4th of July.
Oh, wow. So you actually remembered your day.
The day, yeah, and it was the last day of school. It was just this whole thing. And
Wow, that's crazy.
the first and last day, I was excited about having a period. I was the first and last day. Anything after that is just like, why does this exist? Why am I going through
Mm.
this? That's me, and that's my starting point.
Wow, I've never, that I can recall, spoken to someone and they told me, yes, my period came 4th of July, XYZ years. I just knew mine was like in 2001, I think, or 2002.
Yeah,
2002 it was. And that's crazy that you actually remember the day. That's something significant to remember. Of course,
yeah.
it's a milestone in life, but I think, I know for me, I was just being naive and just being
Hmm.
didn't care about anything essentially. So how did you feel? Like I say, we were told that, oh, don't let anybody touch you, or you're a woman now. You're starting getting breasts.
Mm.
I mean, even though I feel like I'm still at the same size when I was going through puberty at this point. So it's like, did I get through puberty? Like, come on, let's be for real. But so how did you feel knowing that one, you were part of the pack now because the friends
Hmm.
were seeing the period? Like, what was that experience like knowing that, okay, I'm seeing my period now? I know you say it's the first and last day, but what was that experience? Why was that July 4th, the first and last day you were quote unquote excited, for your period?
What was the feeling really? I think that's the most significant memory. I think because it's attached to it was a culmination of like I've now left a stage, primary school. Now we're going to the second stage, so it felt very like honorable in a sense. You're
Um,
making that transition. You've now got your period. You're gonna turn. You're going into first form. I would have been turning 12 like a couple months after.
right.
So it just felt like an honor, but the feeling towards it. So I don't think I ever got the don't be touched, like you can't do this, you can't do that. I think that was always drilled, like don't have sex. I'm still like, that was just
Right.
drilled regardless. I think why I say it was like the first and last time because my periods from, we were spoken in the last episode were just really excruciatingly painful, just traumatizing.
Day one,
Yeah.
you were getting ready to go to school.
Hmm.
Your mom already left, so dad was home, and you realized that something was wrong. And then, so from that very moment, you were just the person that had constant pain and these different things.
I think that first day, I honestly don't remember how that first day ended or how that week went because I guess, yeah, we're going into summer. I really cannot recall anything after that. I just remember that one memory. But it was just a light cramping, and I would have seen, I guess, a bit of spotting and whatnot. Worn what I needed to wear. Kind of went through the day excited. and just with leaving school and whatnot. And I guess I want to believe it's probably a couple months afterwards. So this is would have been July. Probably I know at the start of the school year or later down, that's when it started to get worse. I really can't remember for sure if the first couple of months was as bad, but it was from early on. Having to miss school, you know, just like sick.
Wow. So tell us about that, because it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was talking, when we talk about like period poverty, we tend to stress on the people not being able to afford these products, so they end up missing work or school because they don't
Hmm.
have these items. But then another factor, another barrier that really prevents people who menstruate from even going to school or work is the pain that they experience, the flow of their period, or even the pain. And I think that's also another conversation that we are having. We're just thinking, okay, this person may not cannot afford a particular item, so it prevents them. And that's a very real thing. That's a whole different conversation
Hmm.
too. But I don't think I've heard many people, and it's so funny because the my guest prior, when we were talking about period, she was one that experienced painful period as well from earlier on in her period, and she missed school and all these different things. So tell us about like the difficulties that you experienced as a young girl, even up until today, with your period. Give us the tea.
Everything that came with it. So, and the difference that I can see now is the different symptoms. So, you experience PMS. Like I'm now learning and understanding the difference with like physically being tired and just experience fatigue,
Uh-huh.
bloating, and some symptoms have changed as I would have gotten older. But I think one of my difficulties with my period, and I still to this day, is it's not irregular. I've learned that a lot of people are so irregular, like it's gone. You go months, you don't know when they come in, you don't know what's happening. And then you have some person that is like clockwork. On the second of every month, it's gonna come like
Uh-huh.
clockwork. It's gonna last this amount. It's gonna do this. Mine, it wasn't. The days varied. So once I was actually put on birth control, it was hard for me to. Well, I think it was actually before I got put on birth control. Let me start there. So once I would have experienced this pain, my mom, and so realizing it's. I had an aunt that was a nurse, so sometimes she would come. She would get like some meds, like Gravol, and like give me injections because like right on the site, so that I would alleviate the pain, alleviate the vomiting. My mom would miss work too because she would have to stay home with me because I was just like in the bathroom, crawl into the bed, crawl into the bathroom. The
Right.
process was like getting hot water bottles and filling that with hot water and laying with that, drinking tea, not really wanting to eat, trying to eat, can't eat, vomiting. Da, da, da. It was just like a tumultuous process of like so she missing that. So sometimes I'll feel bad about that because with work here, like you miss a day. Sometimes I ended up missing 2 days from school. Then you have to send in a letter. You
Uh-huh.
have to catch up on work, school work, and stuff like that from friends. So once I would have, I guess, experienced that over time, it was like, okay, we really need to go in and see the doctor, see what can be done. And I think I was initially put on some type of pain meds. So the process
Uh-huh.
was to start taking the pain meds a couple of days before my period would start. So that's where the issue came
Uh-huh.
because it wasn't consistent. I ended up not taking it in time. So either it's the day before or it's on the day that it starts, it's just a couple hours. So the pain meds, I guess, never got to do enough work to bring it, to
Right.
alleviate that pain. So I think that's when I was put on birth control. But at that age, I didn't know it was birth control. I just thought, okay, I just have to take this pill every day. It's just like I just take an everyday pill.
So, so let me ask. So again, because this is also a pattern that I'm seeing. Nothing against birth control, but I'm just
Yes.
saying, the first thing when it comes to, again, all the pain that you are having, the flow on these
Hmm.
different things, and trying the different pain meds route, or even other homemade remedies. Because I've heard you mention drinking tea a few times, and we know if we have a pain in our finger, we're going to drink
Yeah.
that tea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the solution that they had essentially at a very young age, like, it was birth control.
Yeah.
So, and you just thought it was just a pill every day.
Yeah. I'm trying to, I don't know if I'm mixing up memories. I'm trying to remember if I ever had an ultrasound done. I for that specifically, I'm gonna have to eventually ask my mom if she remembers, because I would want to believe, because I feel like if it wasn't, then there wasn't any full investigation. It was just like, okay, this is just a bad period. Okay, we tried the pain thing. Okay, she's not able to get it done within a time frame, so let's do the birth control, because that I just thought of it as like, okay, this is a pill I take every day, so I can kind of know how to control or like manage using the pain meds. So I know, okay, on this week when it's the placebo pill, I can now start taking it on time. And that's how I was looking at it. I think that's how it came across to me until I would have later learned what birth control was. I think I was around like an older person one time, and like she saw me taking the pill. She's like, "Oh, I know what that is," and I was just like, "Okay," like yeah, I guess. Like she was kind of like, "Okay, you're a birth control guy. I see you," but in my head, I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh, so she was kind of judging you, thinking that was something else.
Yeah, like I guess not judging, but like, oh, okay, I know like what that's about, but not thinking it had to do with me managing my period. Yo, it's just like, okay, you're on birth control, I see you, but it's just like, no, I'm like 14, 15. I'm just taking this because the doctor said so.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor told me to do it. This is what I gotta do. But I think at that time, I would have figured out what it was. I mean, the only thing positive about that is that I didn't have as extreme symptoms, side effects
Mm.
as a lot of people. A lot of people gain weight or like they get really bad acne and stuff like that. I
Right.
feel like I was pretty manageable. I would have, as I said, experienced different PMS symptoms. I'd had very tender breasts a lot and probably some bloating and stuff like that. So it alleviated the pain. In how I can contrast it or compare it is that the level of pain meds that I used was different. So I didn't have to use as strong a pain med, but I had to use pain meds. Like
Right. Right.
I couldn't not have that around. The pain was still pretty intense, but a bit more manageable. And I just could use like over the counter type of pain meds once I was put on birth control, because when I wasn't, it had to be like really intense stuff. I don't know, even just like, and it disrupted my daily life. So like, as I said, school and stuff. Like I swear it was like twice in a row. I had a friend that she used to have sleepovers for her birthday, and I guess like clockwork, it came around the same time, and I
Mm.
would be good for like the night, and like the next morning, it was just pain. I had to like my mom had to pick me up the next day, so I couldn't even stay like the duration of that. Have fun with those girls, and you just get kind of like pitied, like persons don't understand, like
Yeah.
if they don't
Yeah.
get through it, like they don't understand. So it's just like, oh my God, what do I do? Because when you look at someone, like you can't, if somebody gets a cut, you can visibly see, okay, this person is
Yes.
bleeding. Of course, they have to be in pain. But when you
Mm-hmm.
can't see it, but you're just seeing the reaction of the person, is just like, okay, how do I judge how painful that really is? I can't see anything wrong other than this person's reaction. So it's kind of like, I'm dying inside. And everybody around you is just like, how do I comfort?
Like, what is wrong with you, or what do I do? No,
Yeah.
that's real. That's real.
Like, yeah, my period, but I just do this. Or yeah, it comes like I envied everybody.
No, I can imagine.
3 days? That's like,
Unheard of.
how does it last 3 days? Like, what are you doing? What am I doing? Because mine was
Right.
lasting, and that's another thing. It lasted a full 7 days, heavy until like probably the fourth, fifth day, and would eventually taper off a bit.
So what did you do? I mean, as you got older or was dealing with this, like when did you know, okay, it was time for me to see a doctor to start figuring out what is wrong with me, with my body? Because like it was just it's unbearable now at this point.
Well, like you said, like the trend has always been, it's once someone comes in with really bad pain, they tend to just get thrown on birth control. Like there's not a
Uh-huh.
lot of investigation done. And I just would have, because it happened with me and for me so young, it was just like, okay, this is what they say it is and what I should do. So I'm just gonna stick to it because it's the only thing that I know, and it's the only thing that has somewhat worked. Like it's you
Right.
either have really bad periods or you don't. Like there wasn't, I didn't have the wherewithal to question it. It was just like, this is just what it is because your parents say it, your peers say it, your doctors are saying it, that's what the society is. It's just like you
Mm-hmm.
either do or you don't, and then that's just it. So I just kind of accepted that. I think this was in college. Actually, before college, I would say probably a year and a half, 2 years being on the birth control, I came off. I can't remember why I wanted to. I guess I just felt like I don't want to be taking pills every
Right.
day, all day type of thing. So in my wisdom, I don't know, at 15 or so, I came off. I think I might have been good for a couple of months. It was manageable as if I was on the birth control. And then I remember I was actually training and practicing to perform for opening of Carnival, our summer festival in Antigua. There's usually a big parade, you have floats, you have people dancing, you have the cheerleaders, and I was a part of one of that. And I was just stuck in bed. I could not get out. My period came down, and that was it. I just remember curled up on my parents' bed, just crying and just seeing the parade on the TV. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be.
Crushed. Right.
I didn't, I was supposed to go and collect my uniform, nothing. I couldn't. And I just felt disheartened, broken. Like, dang, you put so much effort into this. You did so much work. You were looking forward to this. I mean, it's carnival. It's an exciting time. And yeah. So after that, I guess that was kind of like, okay, I have to stay on this. Like, I can't come off now because it's going to be this.
Right. Right.
So so that would have been a couple of years, maybe 7, 8 years, went to college. And then I'm like, I'm trying to be healthy and all. You're growing, you're learning more about your body. The
Mm-hmm.
world started to change too. Like being healthy and eating healthy started to become a trend. Like you wanted to be a part of that, and I've always kind of been somebody like that. I'm a foodie. I'm a eat everything under the sun. I am, but I'm also big about my health.
Right.
So I'm always like trying new things, doing vegan diets, that kind of thing. So it was always something I look forward to. And I figured, and I guess I went back to that same headspace, like I need to get off this pill or whatnot.
Right.
I don't think when did I do it? Oh, what was the process? I think I started to learn a little bit more about like natural medicine and even about women's health and the womb. And I was introduced to Queen Afua, I think it is. She's all about women healing and womb health and that kind of stuff. So learning that there's so many other people experiencing all these different things. You have fibroids and being able to take natural substances and do natural things to eliminate it without doing surgeries. Like people, you have some of those success stories that persons took it upon themselves, did the best that they could, eliminated this thing out their body and lived a healthy life. And it's just like, I know I don't need to be on this pill. And I think my thought process just kind of went along with that. So I just decided to come off and just allow my body because I think it in a way it's numbing you. Like I felt like I didn't know myself. I don't know what ovulation is, that experience. Like if I want to eventually start a family, like I don't even know what it would look like to go through all of it. It's just been like a monotonous ride of like it just felt like automated. So I'm like, I need to know what my body actually naturally does in this state.
Mm-hmm.
I came off, and then what happened? The same thing, pretty much.
Ooh, wow.
Just pain after pain, and then I had the same experience. Now I'm working. Now I'm have a day job, and like every month I have to send a message like I can't come into work because physically, or sometimes I would try to tough it out, and I'm at work like head on desk, like can't move. My co-workers, HR be like, why are you still here? You
Right.
need to go home. You don't look novel, and like you just try to tough it out because you feel so bad that as I mentioned, like you can't see the pain. You're just seeing the person in pain type of thing, and you just feel bad like, man, I guess I can work through this. Maybe I should try to, as women, you just overextend yourself. You think that you need to be doing the world and
Mm-hmm.
not putting yourself first. So at this point, what really pushed me to see the doctor and question this even more, I have to give kudos to my partner, because I guess for him as a man, he's probably, dated persons or whatnot, but you're not experiencing this, and this just looks foreign to him. So it's just like, you need to check this out a bit more. Like, you sure this is normal? I don't think this is normal, because as I said,
Mhm.
for me, it's been normal. Yeah, go on birth control. You either have a bad period or you don't.
It was your life for a period of time.
Exactly. So it's all I knew. So it's just like, I guess that is a good question. I went in, I checked it out, continued to check it out. There was some other things that, I was experiencing now that I would have come off the birth control. So I started to get like prevalent yeast infections, which I never experienced before. I couldn't
Oh,
understand why it was. And then just learning, I guess, just doing my research on it, coming off of something like that has been in your system for so long, it changed, like it's a shock to the body too. If you're
right.
coming off of anything that quote unquote like you're addicted to, your body has been so accustomed to one thing. Now that it's changing, hormones gone, everybody's out to like, wait, hold on. So everything just gets thrown off. But it took a while for us to figure out what the problem was. And my aunt told me one time, she was a doctor too, she's like, try getting an intravaginal ultrasound.
Hmm.
I never knew that was a thing. I was just like, I thought ultrasound was just on the stomach outside. I didn't even know little things like that. Like the doctors never even considered to check. And when we just happened to do it, she was like, oh, this something doesn't,
Uh-huh.
but she wasn't an actual gynecologist. She was just a general physician. So she's like, I have someone that I would refer you to, got referred, did some more tests, and it was just like, okay, we're seeing a lot of cysts around, like, and that was the whole process of me getting, well, that was them considering from my symptoms, everything that I would have gone through, I guess, like my pain level, what I was explaining,
Uh-huh.
it sounded and I guess looked like endometriosis.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, this is what it is. And it just so happened my mom had it, my aunts had it.
Oh,
On my
wow.
father's side, a couple of other aunts had it. Like it was
Hmm.
very prevalent within my bloodline. So it's like, of course it's endometriosis. Like, why did we not think of this before? you know, because I have even at a younger age, I have heard them say that they had it, and it's just like, okay, they had it. Wait, do you have it? Like it was never
Yeah,
that never crossed anybody's mind. So like, let's check, because I think for my mom too, it's only when she would have been married and trying to get pregnant that
she
they
realized.
realized that was a thing, and I think that was a common story within a lot of people too. Is only when you're trying to do this now, it's just like, oh wait, something's wrong.
Uh-huh.
That's when the investigation happened. There hasn't been anything that's preliminary. So to update, I actually don't have endometriosis.
So initially,
Yeah.
when you did all these tests and then the intravaginal ultrasound and everything, they essentially were saying that you had endometriosis. So you were living life under the assumption or
hmm
that you had endometriosis.
Yeah. And I want to be fair, it wasn't a diagnosis. I wouldn't have understood that it was and I guess that's how they work. Like it's like a prognosis, like it's an
Okay.
assumption that this is what it looks like. It's aligning to this. So that's why my initial surgery was just diagnostic. So they
Okay.
were just gonna go in to check things out. That when that happened, they realized how extensive it was, and it would have been too much for I guess, the skill set and equipment that was here in Antigua. I
Right.
got referred to a specialist in Jamaica. They did the full on removal of all of the different things. And even looking at it, they were like, some of it, this looks a bit odd. I don't know if if persons would understand what they call like the different cysts. They look like chocolate cysts. Chocolate cysts is what I'm trying to remember, like the little blood filled cysts
Uh-huh.
and stuff like that. But I also had some other ones that had like a different color that
Uh-huh.
wasn't common.
Right.
So even in one of the doctor's comments, he's just like, it just looked like a string of like grapes. This is what he said. It was so extensive, it was so much. Mine was just all over, like on my bowels, on my ovaries. It was just all over, but it just looked slightly different. So when they actually did the lab test, it came back as something called BMPM, which
Uh-huh.
stands for benign multicystic peritoneal mesothelioma. So it's benign, so it's not cancerous.
Right.
But I guess it's a form of a tumor issue. It's a growing thing that, and it's multicystic, but it falls within the peritoneal, that's within the stomach. So I'll just read a little thing here from the NIH website. So they say benign multicystic peritoneal mesothelioma is a very rare benign cystic tumor. When I would have read about it, I think they had like 140 cases
Mm.
worldwide. So it's a cystic tumor arising in the peritoneal mesothelium, the lining of the abdominal wall. So none of my stuff was, because sometimes endometriosis can happen within the uterus. I don't,
Uh-huh.
everything for me was outside. So that aligns with that. So it says it's common in young to middle-aged women with a previous history of abdominal surgery, endometriosis, or pelvic inflammatory disease.
Mm.
So even when I read that up too, I was just like, so I really don't have endometriosis at all. So my doctor was like, no, I guess what, having tested it, that it just came on. It just came
Right.
on because I'm like, for me, because it also happens, it's also seen in men too. It has been seen in men, but
Mm.
it came up from previous abdominal surgery type of situation. And yeah, so that too took a while to sit with me because it's
Right.
just like I thinking I did have endometriosis gave me some sense of connection to something and not feeling alone. So I think one the psychological issue with having such bad periods and experiencing that type of menstrual trauma, because it
Uh-huh.
does feel like trauma every month, that you just felt like you were the only person because nobody else around you
Have
is
experienced
experiencing
that.
this, nobody else could understand. And I felt like once I found that endo community, everybody kind of had the same story. Like it
Right.
was, you can never find, oh yeah, me and my best friend both have this. Like nobody around you or a person who I would tell, they're like, oh yeah, I have a friend or I have a cousin or I have a sister
Uh-huh.
that experienced it, but I've never been able to put up on somebody like, yo, me too.
Right, right,
It was
right.
never, it's just like, oh, I've seen this. Oh, I know someone. So you always felt like, dang, am I like the only person? So that, yeah, you just sometimes felt misunderstood. You felt pitied. You felt alone. You felt confused,
Yeah.
you know?
So even with that diagnosis of endometriosis, we have, like I said, the endo community. So even though it was a stressful time or even could affect your mental health, but you found some sort of solace because you were not the only one. There was a community worldwide that was experiencing this. So now with this new diagnosis, what do you do for self care, or how did you even take that news in a sense, knowing that the community that you felt a part of by way of the endo
Mm-hmm.
community is essentially meaning that you're not 100%. I mean, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that you're not a part of it because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many different levels to endometriosis in itself. So I don't want to say you're not a part of it, but knowing that the diagnosis was not entirely endometriosis, but something
Right.
else, how did that affect you, or how, like, what do you even do as far as a form of self care now?
I I just still try to lead a healthy lifestyle. I had a friend that asked, she's like, because with finding the endo community, they spoke on like changing your diet and
Uh-huh.
using different things to, I guess, help alleviate or keep it at bay in a sense, just to be healthier. But I would tell her, no, I just eat what I want. But I did at one point once I came off, before I even got to going to the doctor, finding this out, I did do a year of being like kind of vegan adjacent
Um,
or pescatarian. I would say I would still eat like some fish, but I tried to, have a vegan diet, and which I spoke on like when I was in college, like I kind of wanted, I started to think about the type of lifestyle that I wanted to lead and what I wanted to have. So those are the choices that I made. So now I'm doing a lot more exercising, like I'm in the gym. I, you know, I wouldn't say like I eat meat still, but I just have a better understanding of what's
mhm.
healthier. It's just about having a balance. I don't see myself being a vegan or plant-based or vegetarian or whatever it is, but I can understand. when it's necessary. I could have a phase, like I could, I'm not going to subscribe to just one type of
Yeah.
lifestyle, but I do understand the benefit of having a balanced diet. The experience that having that diagnosis, I felt kind of, I guess, disappointed in a way, like, or I don't want to say disappointed. I felt, I guess it was a sense, I'm not finding the word, but I was just kind of taken aback because I thought it was this thing, but it really wasn't. So I felt like, wait, I thought that's what y'all was saying.
Right.
But to be honest, there wasn't an official diagnosis because we were all still waiting on this test. And even when I got it back, I don't think I fully comprehended that that's what it was. It just looked like medical terms on a paper. It's just like, I don't know what this means. They said it was endometriosis before. This is just maybe some other thing that they found. But yeah, so I thought it was still all the same thing, but I just know that it exists. But it having it, why I say it's so similar, because the doctors would have said it's just like endometriosis. It's nothing that is curable.
Mm.
Once you remove it, it's just giving you some more time, because with it becomes prevalent once there is I guess the estrogen, once there's elevated levels. So obviously with every cycle that you have, it's given it more momentum to come back and grow. What
Mm.
helps to stop it is if what you're on menopause, which I was previously put on through medication to help the healing process and keep, stop it from growing. And then being pregnant, because that cycle isn't happening. You get a nine month
Right,
break
right, right.
essentially. So that's really the only cures, or to kind of keep it back. So with endometriosis and with this condition, it's similar. So I would just, like, if I want to have a family, that's the time clock. Like, you got to
Yeah.
do it type of thing in order to. So when I asked about like how soon it would grow back, type of thing, it's like, because there's a 50% chance of it coming back
Mm.
after removal. They said it's not gonna come back overnight, because obviously to get to the point that it did,
With a
it would have
gradual.
taken all these years too. But if you want to keep it at bay, if you want a family, get pregnant, or I guess I would have to be on some type of medication or that kind of thing. So even when they were looking at treatments for it, if I were to do some form of birth control, it couldn't be a hormonal one, because that would exacerbate the growth.
Yeah. So are your periods still, do you experience like severe pain still, or is it you've seen some sort of slight change?
So the good thing, so even after all of that, the good thing has been, I would say, for the better part of like 6 months or so, I experienced a gradual change
Okay, well that's
in my
good.
period. It's not as long. So it went from going for 7 days to like an average of 5,
Okay.
and it's not as heavy. The first 2 days for sure it's gonna be bad. I do have a cocktail of pain that I have to take in a sense. But it's not like, oh, I have to take these for 7 days. Once, like, for 3 days and I'm good. I would say though, my last cycle just about a week ago, I did have some PTSD. I went right back into a level of, because I forgot to re up on my pain meds, so I didn't have
Ooh,
it
girl.
ready. So what I noticed was, like, within the first 24 hours, it's 12 to 24 hours, it's manageable.
Mm-hmm.
And I would take maybe like some paracetamol or something
You can
light,
get by,
something,
right?
yeah. This time it was not so forgiving. And for like I got up at 6, took some paracetamol, was trying to do some work because I had something to do. And by 7, between 7 and 11, I was crawling to this bathroom, curled up on the bed, had to have a heating pad, had to drink some tea. That ginger tea does me hitting the spot
It
and
does,
just
it
help it. Like, it
does.
just went back to the same old, and like just seeing my parents, like my boyfriend, like, what do we do? It's just like, get these meds, get these meds. I didn't get to get it.
Yeah,
And I don't know how to even explain what you go through mentally
a lot.
in that stage, because it's like there's no relief. It's pain, and then it eases for like what feels like only a second. It's probably a couple minutes, and then it goes back, and it
You're
just
trying. Do you are you like trying to like okay? Let me push through. Let me not think about the pain. So trying to be strong. So all these different things you probably have to do, and it's just there's no breath. There's no break.
to no avail. You feel like you're fighting yourself. Honestly, I get so tired just trying to fight this pain off. Like you can't focus to do anything, and sometimes I wonder, like, is not if the pain is real, but is it as bad as?
You're making it. Yeah, no, it is. You feel how you feel. Let me tell you. That's like you said on the outside we can't see, but you feel how you feel. So
Yeah.
you need to make sure that you have that cocktail always on standby
Mhm. Oh,
to help.
all right.
You already realize
Yeah.
what happened. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy that it's gone to that point. I can't say what would have caused that. It could have been maybe I was stressed for that month.
Right. Could be
It'll
too.
lead
Yeah.
up to.
Because in addition to all these different pains, I think one thing we gotta be mindful or try to be mindful of is our environment. Because we good. Like for me, I'll think okay, I'm not stressed, and then if I get my cycle and I'm like okay, you're kind of a little bit heavier than
Hmm.
usual. Then I'll have to check my mental. I'm like okay, no, Hannah, you have been tense, you have been stressed out, but because we're so used to being
Mm,
on the go or having that keep pushing through mindset, you don't have the time. You don't really stop to realize, okay, wow, I am stressed. So I've been trying to like take breaths to make sure that I'm okay mentally, or just even acknowledging or realizing that what this is a stressful time. It's okay. So life is gonna life. Sometimes we can't prevent the stress from happening, but it's just realizing and trying to find ways to deal with that as well. So that's being in tune with your body. But you found that cocktail, and now you're just gonna know how to manage. It's not completely gone, but you found a way to somewhat live and manage with that as of now.
yeah,
Hopefully at some point it could be there's something else out there that would be better to at least help with the pain. But we know how the story goes. But at least
yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing the best that you can to ensure that you're able to manage your pain and live a life that you desire. You know what I mean?
Of course, of course. I know you touched like one of the questions you were asking. I did in terms of like what I would use.
Yeah.
So I think I've used almost everything. I must say I haven't used it recently, the menstrual cup, but I know at one point when I was using it, I felt like my periods weren't as.
Okay, so wait, hold on. So you're telling me, so of all the period products, because me, I'm a pad girl. I've tried a cup one time.
Yeah.
It was just, I think it was my mind because I didn't have any issues with it. But my mind, because I tell you, I have period trauma because I've had I've mishaps with leaking on myself and all these different things.
Listen,
So
listen.
I
Oh,
don't, as much as the period cup, the menstrual cup was successful during that cycle, my mind was not at ease. So for you, so
yeah.
what is your go-to menstrual product, or what have you seen the difference in the products that you use?
For me, I wish I could use the menstrual cup because I felt like it was like my periods would. I felt like it was shorter. One, this is
Okay.
before I had the surgery. I felt like it was short. I felt like it wasn't as intense. So my, I this inferred that it's possible that because it's right there collecting it, it doesn't have to push out
Okay. So
and
you're saying
force the blood down as much. That's what I'm assuming.
right.
But just the whole process of going in
Oh, that's
and taking out and cleaning, I'm like, this is a lot.
yes. That part.
That part. But I could appreciate that I could see a distinct difference with how my cycle was. So if I do still have it, I think I have two different brands, but I haven't really gone back to it because it just feels like such a chore. Because sometimes it worked, and then sometimes it was like, why won't this work?
Yeah.
I folded it this way the last time and I went in.
It,
What's
it's
happening?
it's it's trial and
But
error, and there's a level of
it
consistency.
is.
But I feel like if you've seen that change, that slight change, it's gonna have to become part of your routine during that time.
It is because with the I go to right now pads, I actually got a Thinx, one of the period panties. So I use that to
Oh,
sleep.
really? Good for
That's
you.
pretty
I mean, I
cool.
have
Yeah.
one, but my mind just again, like I said, I got to get my mind right.
No, I still put down a towel,
No, me
girl.
too.
I don't just.
Okay.
You just never
You just
know.
never
You
know.
just
I
never
am glad I'm
know.
not alone because I was saying I don't care how old I am, how long I've been seeing my period. I have to put a towel down every time I go to sleep. If I'm sitting on the couch, then that's fine. I can tell I know what's going on, but when I'm going to sleep, I
Yes.
need that towel so I can.
No,
Because
no.
when you go into
Yes.
that deep sleep, I don't want to be awakened.
And it always
Yeah, I
happens.
don't want to be awakened by nothing because I'm trying to get my sleep before it's time for my alarm to go off. So that's another thing.
Not alone,
If you
girl.
see a slight change, I would recommend you just trying to. It's a lot, but it's going to
Yeah.
kind
And
of
even with the, as you said, like getting the pads sometimes, like there's certain brands that
yes,
just work,
yeah, yeah,
but like they're just not that available.
yeah, yeah. No,
They're
that's
just not
a
available. And it's just like, where, why? This is something that like it's almost like food. Like you have to eat, women have
mhm.
to have
These items.
menstrual pads.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. That's
It's ridiculous.
that's what I advocate for. But one step at a time. We'll get there
It
eventually.
is.
But it's just
We'll get
as you
there.
say, we should have access to any sort of products. It doesn't matter if it's a cup, the
Hmm.
panty, the this, whatever it is. We should have access to that without having to figure out or choose between food or putting gas in our car versus these. But that's a whole different thing. I can talk about it every single second.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story. It's always a pleasure, and I hopefully it'll be of inspiration to someone to realize, you know what,
I hope so.
being in tune with your body, the first sign of something feeling out of whack, don't wait for it. Because I
Yeah.
know as women, some especially as black women, we like to be like, okay, let me wait. And I know for me, let me speak for me. I would like, oh, let me push through. I'm gonna wait and see, thinking that I'm a doctor and diagnosing myself, or thinking, you know what, let me wait till tomorrow. Sometimes tomorrow,
Yeah.
so anytime you feel like something is out of whack or you have a question, you're raising an eyebrow, go to the doctor. I mean, that's what they're there for. That's what essentially we're paying them for anyway.
Exactly. And you have to know yourself
Yeah,
with whether it has to do with your menstrual cycle or anything, in that regard, like whatever is a headache, a footache, you have to know your own body, but you can't just dismiss it. If you always have a headache and you think, oh, I always have a headache, no.
that's the part. That's
No,
the
still
part.
check it out, but still be in tune. And that has definitely helped me. If it's meditation, if you need to go for walks, you feel like that
Mhm.
helps, going to the beach, reading a book, whatever works, it's always about balance.
Yes, no, it's true.
Balance with food, balance with work, school, family, yourself,
Finding that balance with
is
your
top.
self care, yourself, it is
And then
top priority.
the others. Yeah, you're gonna feel guilty. You're gonna feel guilty. I'm not gonna lie. And that's okay.
I agree. Well, thank you, Nyla, for joining me
Thank
here in the
you.
tea
Thanks
tasting
for
room.
having me.
No problem.
I enjoyed it. It was great
You too.
speaking.